The men don't listen at all. They're very dismissive in the conversation or the problem solving, as always, but that's how men naturally are. You have to be able to be verbal about that, vocalize that need. I just need you to listen. I just need to vent. I don't need you to solve the problem, because in a man's mind, it's gonna turn on.
Making me lose my mind, cause I just don't know. Something in your eyes, the way you stare me that I like.
Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to Clo and Josh, CXOJ for short. Let me pick up this mic so it's a little closer so y'all can hear me.
What up, guys? Thank you for joining us. Another podcast episode. We're going to keep them coming for you. And let us know in the comments any type of topics or subjects or videos or reels, any type of viral content you want us to react to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Josh tasked me with coming up with content for today. And I'm a procrastinator, y'all. I do my best work underneath a deadline. And usually close to that deadline. And so I did have all day to figure out what we were going to talk about. But, you know, genius strikes when it wants to. When you're a creative person, y'all should know that. But anyway, as I regress, today we are going to do kind of a topic blitz. So there's this channel. It's called Tonight's Conversations. I'm sure y'all seen the snippets. On Instagram or YouTube, the reels on Instagram, what do they call them? The shorts on YouTube. So I'm over here looking like, oh my gosh, what are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? And then I was like, oh, wait, let's not just talk about one thing. Let's talk about a bunch of stuff. Okay, mind blown, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a topic blitz. So that means that we're just going to talk about 8 random shorts from tonight's conversation to react to. FYI, Josh nor I have heard any of these clips because that's just how we're going to do this blitz. It's going to give us our real-time reactions to what these topics are going to be tonight. So
I noticed that Big Mike and yourself also love blindsiding me with topics. I love it. It's great.
I like blindsiding myself because I need to see like what my gut reaction is, right? Like,
true. That's how you have an reaction, right?
What my ethereal reaction is. And then, because you know, when you have time to really ponder about a subject, sometimes you can be swayed, right? And then I like to hear the subject and be like, wait, what am I feeling about this? What triggers do I have? And then I need to address those later, right? So with that being said, we're going to start with our first topic, which is, drum roll. You got a drum roll button?
No.
It's your boy!
Our first topic is it true about men and women's miscommunication? And here we go.
Are some of the frustrations that women seem to express with communication?
Men being withdrawn, men being dismissive, men not actively listening. But I also have to get women to understand you cannot expect to hold the floor for 20, 30, 40 minutes about something you have going on and expect him to be able to hold that attention because a man's brain is not created like that. And be, specific on the words. Say less but mean more. We can't come in and expect to gossip about our everyday life. Now, however, what I do see is that women do complain that the men don't listen at all. They're very dismissive in the conversation or the problem solving, as always, but that's how men naturally are. You have to be able to be verbal about that, vocalize that need. I just need you to listen. I just need to vent. I don't need you to solve the problem, because in a man's mind, it's going to turn on.
You want to go first?
Wow, absolutely not. Ladies first.
Ladies first.
I'm curious to see how you respond to that kettle of fish, let's say.
I'm an outrovert. I'm an extrovert. So I'm a talker. I learned through talking. Like, I learned through not listening initially, right? I like to talk and hear myself talk.
Bingo.
That's how I learn. Like, that's always been my thing. I used to get in trouble in school for talking. Like, yes, of course, I'm a social butterfly. the nice way teachers say your kid talk too
and them
much.
teachers clip them wings, huh?
No, they didn't. I was in plenty of detentions writing in the dictionary, writing, copying definitions from the dictionary, so I can expand my vocabulary when it's time to talk. You feel me?
You people are so petty and tiny.
But no, on a serious note, this is something I had to learn, was filtering. Shout out to Joel Green, his book Filtering.
Matter of fact, we're gonna put that in the description, on Audible and on Amazon.
Yes,
What up,
sir.
Joel?
What up, Joel? So it's funny that he named his book Filtering, and I can use that term right now, but I had to filter conversations that are for your friends versus conversations for, your man at home. Like, it's two different things. And I feel like as women, we like to conflate the two. So when he's not listening, or we think he's not listening, it's just because it's boring, right?
Or gossip.
Or gossip. I mean, some men like gossip. I feel like we all got a little bit of, wanting the tea in us. Just a little bit of the tea. But it can't be like an everyday occurrence. Like, if you want to say something that is petty or something that, would be considered girl talk to your man, like, I would suggest that you filter it first. Like, is this something he really cares? Like, does he care about your coworkers that he don't know? No, he doesn't care. He does not care. Like, if you want to tell that story to somebody, call your girlfriend up and have that conversation.
However, Your Grace, I would say, and I'm sure the fellas are also saying as well, probably conservatively speaking, let's say between 75% to 90% of some of the things ladies want to talk about, men authentically and effortlessly have zero interest in it. And again, it's not out of disrespect, it's just the truth.
But you know what they say, men know all the gossip. Men, if you want to know some gossip, go to a man and ask him, because he done heard it all, because women love to talk to men about stuff. Now, granted, if there's a reason, right, I think that it should just be intentional if you want to have a rant about your day. And kind of like what I like to do is I rant alone. And by the time I told the story a couple of times, Josh get the watered down version, like the real version, like the 6-second clip, instead of the whole every detail, like, oh, she was wearing pink and he was wearing this and he said this and she said that. And
still, even with the watered down version, Josh is still like,
silence is fucking golden.
That's not a nice button to press.
Shout out to Ari Gold.
Not a nice button. Not the F word. We're keeping it PG.
The F-bomb, okay.
But anyway, so I think that you should filter that. Secondly, I feel like it has to be intentional. Like, it's certain things are for certain people. Like, if you want to vent about your feelings and you don't, because at the end of the video, she said, oh, you just want him to listen. Like, he not there to listen, sis. He's a problem solver. Like, go to your man when you want him to be like, all right, you want to do A, B, C. If you want to vent, go to a therapist, okay? Talk to a trained professional who is paid to listen to you vent. Like, because I, for one, don't even like people venting to me. Like, vent to me, but I'm going to come up with a solution, and then hopefully you find a solution, you won't be venting again. Like, we not here to do that, because usually when you vent to people, they might start holding grudges against people that you done already forgot about. But your therapist won't ever do that. Your therapist, they have to be a bipartisan, they have to be a neutral person in it. So I think that even though women think men are not listening, it's just because why would you listen to something that's boring?
Boring.
That's a good button.
More importantly, I feel like there should be at least 5 to 10 other barriers. I'm speaking for the fellas out there. At least 5 to 10 barriers between you, your man, and that boring ass conversation. Respectfully, right? So you have your mom, right? You have other female relatives that you can talk to. You have close female friends who are, depending on the topic of the gossip, hopefully in the same, let's say, relationship status as you. Things like that.
What's the other two?
What I said, 5?
Yeah. Yourself?
No, I'm just like naming people. That's up to them to name the rest. I'm just giving you examples. Can't do all the work for you, you know.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Some guys though, it depends on your relationship. Because if you got a man who loves to gossip with you, I think that might be different. I don't know. I don't have that situation. We try not to gossip about things because gossip doesn't really build bridges. It kind of like tears people down and puts you in a mindset where it's like negative and, you know, comparative.
I just wonder sometimes like how miserable is your life that you have to focus on negative things, that you just can't enjoy things.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Kanye West, for that gem. But like, yeah, like, you know, we try to make our conversations more or less about other things, like reaction videos and stuff, and see what we can learn out of it. Because honestly, all of that gossip, and I'm not even just gonna say gossip, just complaining. Like, a complainer, it's like, go suck it up. Go cry a river by yourself. Like, nobody has time for that. And not in a mean way, even though it sounds very mean. But it's like, unless you're going to cry and get the tears out and come up with a solution, like you're just purging the tears and emotion, what's the point? Like, you just gonna keep crying to me about the same thing every day? No, thank you. I did not sign up for that. Because if you love somebody who's crying to you every day, that eventually puts a damper on your spirit. And you definitely don't want to do that with your man or your wife or your woman. Like, nobody wants to be the Debbie Downer that everywhere they walk around it's just a cloud and rain drizzles coming down. Like, take that over there. We don't got time for that in this space. Do that alone and then come back when you've regrouped. Is that harsh?
I mean, I think looking from the man's perspective, I feel like it's also harsh and inconsiderate that women sometimes treat men just like a pair of ears to listen. And respectfully, that's not, our purpose of why we're here. So if you're just going to, intentionally waste your man's time, that's also lowering your value in his eyes as well, because he's very practical about his time, a lot of time that he devotes to you. So if you're not valuing that time equally, or not equally, but at least in a reciprocal way, that's going to be an issue.
Fair enough. Okay, what's our next topic? Oh, and let me know what y'all think. Was I too harsh? Like, do some of y'all have the same kind of feelings? Like, I love my friend. I want to be hearing about her man problems every week. I love my friend. I want to hear about her being broke every week. Like, girl, here's, let's fix this. I'm a problem solver. Like, I'm not the one to come to vent more than once. Like, I give grace. Like, come and vent, cry it out. And then we going, after the tears are gone, we're going to come up with a game plan. And then you going to level up. But not all of this, like, let's wallow in self-pity together stuff. Like, no thanks.
And then in response to the video, do that with your female friends before, coming to your man with that. Because only come, as Clo said, if you're ready for a solution. Like, you got the venting out, you got the crying out, whatever. And again, if you just want your man to listen first and then give a solution, I mean, maybe sending in a text message.
Text message.
And he can just read it and go back to doing what he was doing.
I feel like when women, we're emotional creatures. So when we want that time with our man to speak to, to kind of talk us off the ledge, it takes more than just a text message.
Well, okay, we're in 2022, about to go into 2023. You can use a digital voice note. You're able to convey context, and you can actually hear your emotion. You can hear any type of emotion you're feeling. You can hear it in your significant other's voice. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a great way to do that. And then if you want to, and then later when you actually see your man, if you want to vent again in person, but expecting a very swift solution, or preemptively, he might stop you immediately, be like, I'm just going to give you the solution now, and then it's over with. There you go.
Yeah, and if that's not enough, that doesn't mean he's not listening to you, I would say. It just means that That's not his role. Like, his role is to guide you to fix the solution.
By the way,
in my opinion, I could be wrong.
I don't know who this lady is speaking, but she was saying that women were saying to her that men were not actively listening. The fact that men are having solutions for you, that demonstrates actively listening. And then at the end, she was like, "Oh, well, men actively listen." Da 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 da. Like complaining about it. Like, really?
I think that we want our man. You know what it is? I think when we were growing up, they told us a lot of times, like, find a man, marry your best friend, marry a man who's your best friend. And when we think of best friend, we think of somebody we can vent to about everything. And it's like, girl, he got other things to do besides listen to your problems. Like, now, granted, if there are problems that you're going through, you should feel comfortable to say, hey, do you have a moment for me to vent to you about this? Because I feel like, you know, your input would help me get through this better or quicker. That's a different story, but we don't do that most of the time. We just come home, we stressed out. Can you believe this happened to me today? And blah, 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 blah. And you need to hear every part of this story so you can tell me the solution.
Yes, ladies. That is called, and I'm not sure, depending what guy you're with, not every guy will tell you this, but you are at that moment actively using him as a emotional tampon. And again, that's not your man's purpose. Not to mention, if he has a 9-to-5, he probably has female workers who are also attempting to do the same thing. So by the time he gets home, he didn't give time for them. He definitely not giving time for you, especially after work. You got to also pick your moments, right? I mean, when we were kids, I'm sure we all remember there was a parent who was more likely to say yes. So similar concept, you know, when there's a better time to have that type of conversation, and as soon as he gets home, you just like emotionally dump on him. That's never an option, you know. Just FYI.
It's kind of like, I'm angry, you better be angry too. We both angry today. Unless you're like, and sometimes I feel like words are just not meant to even have a place at some points, because, you know, if I walk in and I'm sad, he could tell I'm sad right away. I'm like, I just need a hug. Like, I don't even want to talk. Let's just hug. Let's just hug it out. And then when I have the right words to say, then we could talk. But nah, ladies, just because he's not interested in your boring drama.
More accurately, over dramatic.
Because stuff
interpretation, yes.
Things are dramatic, okay? Especially that time.
Over dramatic interpretation, yes.
It depends, because people, you know, I know, we all know, people will test you and you want to come home and be like, you know what this chick did? You know what happened to me today? Can you believe? Nah, sis, write it in your journal. Get it out that way. It'll make things a lot smoother at home, in my opinion. And then, you know, when he wants the tea, he gonna be like, yo, what happened at work today? Let it out.
Said no man ever. Oh, sure. Tell me about those never-ending list of problems. I definitely want to hear that.
Men be bored too. Some men like the drama. Some men love the toxic. So it's like watching a reality TV show. But you'll know your man. And if you feel like he's not listening to you, he's not the man who wants to hear your drama.
Boring.
All right, I think we wrapped that one up. What's the next one? Okay, and now we're moving on to our next topic, which is called, Is This True About Equal Rights?
So you're okay with degrading black women and women?
That's not degrading.
That is degrading. You're telling me that I'm not here to listen to
That's
that.
hierarchy. It's not degrading.
Hierarchy.
Women, and that is a problem.
Well, yeah, by you. Stop playing with me.
Women want to whine about being equal, and they don't understand.
Imagine this saying that you whining about having equal rights. Imagine it.
You never heard me say damn equal rights.
You want to drink out this water fountain and you're whining because you can't? You wanna get this house and I'm denying you simply because you're black and you're whining about it? I bet that's how white people thought too. We are not second-class citizens and we are not less than especially you.
Okay. Hold on. What? How am I gonna be? Women are never gonna be equal.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, let's let go.
Mr. Let Go. Let's bring it home a little bit.
Y'all is spicy.
You're in a relationship.
You ain't no girl? Welcome.
You want to go first?
It reminds me of the original Friday when a certain individual got knocked out and his father said, man, why you got me out here dealing with these damn people? Clo, what you done got me watching with this nonsense? What's going on here? What's the actual point?
Honestly, I just thought that was a display of trigger. It was like,
oh yeah,
what the heck was that? I couldn't even decipher what they were talking about. Like, that was a clip because they was putting her on blast. Like, look at you, and she never gonna see what's wrong with that. Like, girl, girl, that's just a bad look for Black women, and they wonder why. We wonder why our image is tarnished because y'all on here acting a fool. Like, why are you getting buck in a room with a grown man?
Because they feel comfortable enough to do so, and they feel entitled to have that liberty without any repercussions. That's what life has taught them.
It's like you can be passionate, and I feel like we've been given the grace so long by men in spaces like this because they care about us, but women are just taking liberties. Like, and we see it all the time. Women be punching dudes in the face or acting crazy and expecting a man not to do anything about it. Like, it's only so much a person can take. But if he would have snapped on her, then he would have been the bad guy. Meanwhile, she in bucking the chair, like puffing up her chest like she really gonna do something. No, sit down, take several seats. Like, you're passionate, I get it, and this is for entertainment purposes, and you really feel... for me, watching the clip, it felt like she felt offended that he said that she's not equal to him because she views him as less than. But that's how you express yourself. That's a little moronic to me, and it's just not a good look. It's just not a good look. And then it's like you see other people looking from other communities at things, little shorts like this without the context, which is really not needed because there's no situation why you should be getting that brolic and buck with a man in your presence.
Especially if he retaliated, you would then play the victim. So
Yes.
you're literally copying Karen ideology.
Yes.
You are both the aggressor and then also the victim. So
Yes.
make that make sense, please. While you're doing that to your own Black man,
So
that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And then wondering why he don't respect you. Like, and the fact of the matter is he respects her because if he didn't respect her, things would have looked a whole lot different. He might have got out his seat. He should, and matter of fact, he should have just got up and walked away. Like, I'm not even entertaining this. But then it would have been, some more taunting. I could only imagine if he actually did that. They would say all types of stuff like, oh, I'm not your equal, but you want to get up and walk away from me. Don't walk away from me now. It's just like a whole mentality of that just was a bad look, sis. I don't know who you are, but please just, you know what I mean? Like, and the thing about it is you can't even tell people it's a bad look because people are not even in that space to receive that because they really feel that passionate about what they were saying that they don't understand. Like, it's layers to this conversation. You don't just communicate with your words. You may be 100% right, but guess what? Nobody's listening to your message because of how you're acting a fool. And we've all been there. Like, I'm not above it. I've been there, done that. I
am literally above that. That is beneath me. I would never engage in that in terms of emotionally. Again, I understand. Like, sure, you can be passionate about it, but at that point, you were belligerent. And that's never necessary, especially, when it's called tonight's conversation. It's like having a conversation at the table for a solution. Like, where are you gonna develop a solution if you're bringing that energy to the discussion? I just don't understand that.
Well, before I finish, I had to finish my statement because you made it seem like I would do that now. I'm saying I'm not above that in the sense of...
Clo is elevated, you heard?
In the sense of... Because of our culture, we were taught that that's how you react to get your point across. especially when you grow up in an environment where that's all people do to win an argument is to be loud. Like, the louder she got, the more she thought she won the argument.
And to be fair, I understand what you're saying, but this also is not true even within our culture in hip hop. Just because you rap the loudest doesn't mean your bars are the best. So for that, I call BS and a lack of accountability, ladies. Come on now.
No, listen, Josh, because you have to look at the environment too. I come from a family, we're boisterous people, boisterous. Like, and for men, the man who's the biggest, who speaks the loudest, who's the strongest, people respect him because when he walk in a room, they know they can't mess with him. That's the man of the room. He's the alpha male. So I feel like women have adapted these qualities because they see their moms and they see their grandmothers getting loud and speaking to men any type of way. And so they mimic these qualities and think that just because they're emulating the loudest person in the room, they're going to get the same results as an alpha male.
Right. I understand what you're saying, and I agree. However, that's the difference between men and women, because when a man does it, sure, he's being, boisterous, right? But because the woman is doing it, now she has to overcompensate because, to your point, again, men and women aren't equal. You are weaker than a man on average, right? Physically, let's say. So at that point, her delivery had to increase. She had to dial it up to demonstrative, which, again, when you're actually communicating with males, if you get to that demonstrative tone, then physical violence can ensue. That's very much on the menu. That's probably what happened to, Brother and Amigos, RIP, in that type of situation with that energy. So for her to feel that comfortable and entitled to dial it up, knowing that there would be no repercussions, and it's kind of like buffoonery at the same time. So I view it differently, personally.
I wouldn't say I view it differently than what you're viewing. I think we're just looking at it two different angles. So, like, I agree with what you're saying 100,000%, but I'm also saying that, ladies, just because you think you're the loudest in the room doesn't make you right, number one. And number two, don't get that loud in the room with a man sitting across from you. Because, yeah, you have the law on your side, but you really just want to lock a brother up because he disagrees with what you say? Using
Karen ideology.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is I feel like modern aged people, modern women, right? Or people who were millennials or are millennials and whatever generation, that was highlighted as okay behavior when we were growing up. And unless you know any better, if you don't know better, you don't do better. But since you know better, you need to do better. That's all I'm saying. Grow out of that. That's some little kids. Like, how could a man take you seriously?
You having a childlike tantrum,
and you're having a tantrum like a baby. Like, do that stuff when you're like 7 or 8 years old. You getting loud and stuff. Like, grow out of it, sis. Like, we don't have time for that. We're the most educated group of people on this planet, yet you're showcasing ignorance through your body, through your actions, through your vocal, like what you're saying, how you're saying it. The communication does not align with what you are capable of doing and what you have accomplished.
Even if it's entertainment, we're saying even if it's entertainment, still, do you really want to dial it and ratchet it up? Pun absolutely intended. Shout out who Ratchet TV and P-Word. Do you really want to ratchet it up to those levels? And again, demonstrate that it's okay to have that type of energy with a man with no repercussions, because she full well know that there's no man on that panel is going to do anything regardless of how many decimals she raises it. But that's not accurate in real life, so it conveys a different message. So when some ladies who may also have that demonstrative, let's say, overcompensating energy, trying to equal masculinity, there's a reason why I would say men are better at displaying masculinity, because it's not always coming from a place of, you have to overcompensate. That's just being direct. So there's a difference between being direct and being powerful that way versus trying to display power via your voice, but your words aren't actually going anywhere and displaying or conveying any type of power intellectually. So if you are that intelligent, ladies are the most educated they ever been in history. they're the most wealthiest that they've ever been in history. They had the most rights, especially in the West, ever in history. So the fact that you're talking about, things like equality, but compared to every other woman in history, literally, you have all the rights that they never did and more, and yet you're still complaining. This is interesting.
Just not complaining. Like, you can voice your opinion. It's just the right way to do it.
I understand what you're saying, but that's kind of like, let's say that's a wealthy child, right? Who grows up spoiled. So let's say they've had a butler their entire life, and they went away to boarding school. And then all of a sudden now they have to clean up for themselves.
Yeah, people, in my personal opinion, people have a right to feel how they feel. Like, I can't judge you on how you can internalize the situation, but I can judge you on how you manifest that through your actions. So I can't be mad at you for being upset, but I could have an opinion about how you display you being angry and how that affects me, an external party to your situation. And in that situation, it was completely in the wrong for her to be talking to that man like that. I don't care who he is. I don't care if that's the most hated man in America sitting across from you. You should understand that you just don't do that. If somebody's bigger than you, you don't talk crazy to them, especially in their presence. Like, I could see if she was an internet thug. Internet thugs come a dime a dozen. Like, you can't really hurt me across the TV, but you're that bold. You in a room. I just can't fathom that. Like, you're in a room with this big old man and you talking crazy, like fighting words. That to me is more, that makes me more afraid for us as women, Black women, than anything else.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree, because at the end of the day, the fact that this is a platform for Black people specifically, that's an opportunity to display that we're more than the caricatures that are prevalent worldwide. So you have the ability to articulate yourself. You've created your own platform to do that, yet you're only displaying the things that are already being displayed, and we are already being boisterous about. We don't want this displayed in the media and entertainment. But when given your own platform, you decided to do that. So it's just very interesting.
And highlighted for the views. How many views did that video get? I'm curious.
I believe the term is clout chasing. Shout out to P-Work and Harratchet TV once again. All right, that was number 2. And now on to number 3, also from tonight's conversation. And the question is, can you be great father to 10 plus in multiple households? It's going to be interesting. Okay.
It's the same as men who literally birth their seed into a lot of women, and then how can you be a father and then a baby father to
Canon.
like 10 different women? It's impossible.
I wouldn't say it's impossible.
Now
look at
the Black community don't need that.
To be clear, I'm not saying go be reckless, but I'm saying those who are actually in a position to be able to provide and be able to give that.
Tell me what you think that is. What is that for you?
I'm not saying that Nick Cannon is like the role
Nick
model.
Cannon is the worst.
But he also not marrying nobody.
This is why I think he's the worst. It's not about having sex with a lot of women.
Right.
I don't care. Go do that. I believe that a man or a woman should not spread himself so thin or herself so thin where you cannot be in this child's life. How much hours can this child get when you have literally California, Barbados, Virgin Islands, Jamaica?
Do you want to start or you want me to start?
So I'll be completely transparent. As a guy, if you're a billionaire, I feel like you could afford that lifestyle. I'm not saying that should be promoted or, sought after. I'm just saying at that side of provision, if you have 10 plus, regardless if it's with the same woman or not, right? Because 10 kids is a lot of kids, regardless. And to Chloe's point, because she's a educator and she, really educated me in that kids require a whole lot of attention. So to have 1 or 2 or 3 really requires a lot. I mean, just ask the parents who currently have 1, right? And shout out to our friends that do and family that do. But to have like multiple or 10 plus, especially if it's, let's say 10 different, hypothetically, baby mothers, that would be outrageous. However, again, I'm just being completely transparent. If, in let's say in a different life, if I was like a multi-billionaire, like Jeff Bezos level, just buy an island and just have like, multiple Joshes running around. I think that would be like Bond villainish. That's like my Bond villain fantasy like that. But I would never actually do that or want to do that or try to pursue that. There's a difference. But I would say for men in general, our mating strategy is to do something like that.
But my question is this: why would it be with 10 different women? Like, if you're gonna have 10 people, why would it be time?
As a man, biologically, our role in the mating process is that we can literally impregnate 10 women in a week, minimum.
Well, okay, but let's just honestly, okay. So the parameters that you just set are just outrageous. A billionaire, like
that's why I live with the billionaire. A billionaire is outrageous amount of money. Yeah.
Like, okay, but there's no even billionaires aren't even doing that, obviously, because they know it's not a good idea.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good idea. First of all,
and that doesn't mean that they're not doing it, underneath the table.
Well, under the table is one thing, and it's probably by mistake. And number 2, it's like
that would definitely be on purpose.
Oh, nah, bro.
If you make $1 billion, you're not having 10 plus kids by accident.
Listen,
come on now.
Having children is not just a financial thing. It's really just not a financial thing. And it's like you just contributed to 10 single parent households that those children that you born into this life, I think it's one of the most selfish things I've ever heard. It's like you're not even considering your legacy. You're just considering your selfishness. Like, oh, I can make 10 kids, so I'm going to go make 10 kids. Now, at least 9 of them kids, let's say conservatively, at least 7 of those kids are never going to see you, especially if they're different moms. Like, if it was the same mother, I think maybe that's different. Like, I don't recommend people having 10 or 11 kids in 2022.
Even though a lot of our ancestors did.
Not even ancestors. Like, my grandmother is one of 11.
That's an ancestor.
She's not an ancestor. Hello. She's still alive.
No, I meant like in terms of the families, right?
Like, my father got, 7 brothers?
Right. And my dad had multiple as well, like 10 plus. Yes. So, yes. But this is what I'm saying. But also, they were taught that by the previous generation, who would be ancestors. So, very close ancestors. Yes.
What I'm saying is they made sure that there was a family structure. But if you're having more than 5 kids, period, your kids are going to be raising other kids. Like, there's no way that 2 people can actually take care of 10 kids. So, number 1 is selfish, in my opinion, to the other kids, because they got to raise the kids that you made. They didn't even have fun making them, and they got to raise them. But you're going to go around here and make 10 children, make 10 fatherless kids, and just say, oh, I'm going to just send you money. Like, kids don't care about money. Kids do not care about money. Kids want to know where their father is. They want to spend time with their father. They want to be able to feel like they have a family unit, not just a paycheck. It's like, I feel like it's the most selfish thing you could do. And that's just my opinion.
I mean, that's fair. I do believe in the concept of being fruitful and multiplying, to be fair. And this is why I said, in order to do that practically, where the child would have, let's say, enough or at least ample FaceTime with you on a daily basis, is in my Bond villain scenario, where you're a billionaire and all the mothers live with you on the island with the kids. They all go to school together.
Well, that's a compound. That's a different situation.
But that's what
sister wives. That's like all the wives are friends and together. That's not the situation they just talked about.
I mean, it can be.
But it's not. It's really not though. Like it's we can say, oh yeah, the 0.00.0001%.
No, I'm saying that's the only reason. The only way it would be practical is if it was in that situation. But beyond that, And I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. Even if you're a billionaire, if you have, like Mormons have historically been known to have compounds with multiple sister wives, that situation makes sense because it's a community effort, and I can understand that. But to just be running around here impregnating women because you have money, like
that's reckless, number one. Number two, at the same time, Your Grace, I will have to say it's not like these baby mothers of 10 did not know about each other. So you allowed someone who you know had other kids from, at least at one time it was one other, then it was two other, then it was three other, all the way up to 10 other.
Yeah.
Shoot the club up.
Selfishness, because they want their baby and they know the man has money. That's selfish. They're not thinking about the children. Like, I feel like a lot of times people look at kids as props, or kids are just like,
Oh yeah, like the Kardashian effect. I got you.
they're just things to have. Like, oh, it's time to have a kid. Let me just have a kid. Like, I don't have to spend time with the kid. I could just leave the kid with the nanny, or I could leave the kid over here. And it's like, bro, it's a whole person. Like, they, from the time they're born, they're absorbing everything around them.
Sponges.
They're sponges, and they learn the most, really, in their most formative years, from 0 to like 5.
7, they say.
Or 7, you know? Like, come on now. The kid's going to know, like, oh, my dad has 20 other kids around this world. And guess what? He's going to be spending time with one of them kids. So imagine you're the kid he's not spending time with. You're going to feel less than. Like, oh, my mom gets a check. The kid can't even really spend the money until they out of high school. Like, so it's really the mom who's getting the money, who's maybe or maybe not be giving it to the kid because he's not even around to even lead the household. Makes no sense to me. But, you know, people do what they want in this world, and they got to live with the consequences. But I think it's selfish.
Fair enough.
Even if you are a billionaire.
What can I say, Clo? What can I say? All right. So the fourth video we have are women and men.
No, we played that one. That's a repeat.
When?
It is. It's a repeat. So we're here.
Why is that different? Has different thumbnail
Views.
as well. And
all right.
views.
I mean, you could play it if you want.
They want to be in control, bro.
No,
that's the biggest problem.
But why not? We want to be treated as equals because we are
We're not
equals.
equal.
That's it.
We
That's
are
it.
not
We're not second class
agree,
citizens.
but you're not
And
equal.
you're not.
We
If you're
are.
not equal,
You're
then you
not
either
freaking
have to be
equal.
less than or greater than. That's just what it is.
You're not
So if you're
equal.
saying that I'm not equal, you're saying that women are
Not
lesser
equal.
than.
How? Hold on,
Not
hold on.
equal.
How are women less?
Because men run the entire world. Women don't have control on any
You ain't heard Beyonce.
space of the
give him
entire
30 seconds.
planet. So at the end of the day, when women talk about I want women's rights and all that stuff, like we was talking about, who gave y'all damn rights?
How dare we?
The men.
So in that example, are black people less than white people?
God almighty. Don't call back.
No comment.
Because the government is also 93% white man.
I'm not gonna comment on that.
So this is where I agree with the Israels, right? Where certain people should not be having these conversations if they're not at a certain intellectual level. That may be elitist to sound like, but you know, I am born and raised in the Northeast. I went to the amazing Petty School. Shout out to the Petty School, Al Aviva, and attended the University of Miami. So yeah, pretty elitist perspective, but it's based upon practicality that would improve our lives in general, right? If you do certain things, your life could be better. But again, that's just my perspective. What do you think, Clo?
First and foremost, if you know what to say, just don't say nothing. If you don't have a good explanation, you can say, give me a second to think about that. Like, I don't know. That video was just like, what am I even watching? Like, for him to say that, if you're going to say something polarizing, you need to have that planned, okay? You just don't wing something after you say like a little snippet like that. You need to have some type of course of conversation where it's leading. Like, I feel like a lot of times in this YouTube world, people just be throwing out snippets of or phrases that they've heard. And to be honest, that was something Kevin Samuels used to say, rest in peace. And he didn't even articulate it correctly. So it's like, if you're going to use somebody else's soundbite, you need to come with the facts, statistics, the data to back what you're saying. You don't just say something because you heard somebody else say it. And then when somebody rebuttals with the good, because that was a good rebuttal for her to say that based off of what he said without the context that if you're a Kevin Samuels watcher, you would know. He didn't even have a rebuttal to that. So now you sitting here looking stupid. Or uninformed is the correct word, I would say.
I mean, I would say they both look uninformed.
They do look uninformed. And it's like, listen, like, some people really, listen, I feel like YouTube gives a platform for everybody to speak their opinion. And, you know, sometimes people just be talking. And then it turns into a soundbite on the internet. Then it just turns to a soundbite. So I really don't have any words for that one. Would you like to proceed?
Well, how do you feel about the question, are men and women equal? I don't think so. What do you think, Clo?
I would say that men and women contribute equally to society. I don't think that we're equal as far as certain things, like men are stronger than women. Women are more nurturing than men, generally speaking. Like, we have equal strengths, but they're not the same.
I do think equal is the term of the age right now, like equality. But I think men and women are not equal, and they offer something different to society, to your point. I wouldn't say something equal to society, but something different to society. For example, we all know that the majority of, pun absolutely intended, shitty jobs, things like being a plumber and all those other dirty jobs that if you went to college, you would never consider doing. Mostly it's men doing those jobs, and those jobs, to Kevin Samuels' point, are the ones responsible for holding up the infrastructure, especially in the Western world and in the developing worlds, especially more so in the developing worlds, I would say, because that is essential for their survival. But again, that doesn't mean what women offer isn't valuable. I would just say it's different, and that's why they're not equal. Because the sexes also offer something different in procreation. They offer something different in child rearing. It's just different.
It's not equal. It's not equal. I wouldn't say that men contribute more to the whole world as a society. I think, like I said, that nature has to be balanced. So women contribute equally, just differently. I wouldn't say men contribute more than women. Maybe in certain aspects, yeah, but women contribute more in other aspects. Look at the nursing field, which is a dirty job. You got to wipe people's booties and deal with people's throw up and all that other stuff. So it's not like, oh, women aren't taking these jobs that deal with nasty stuff or like are not hard to do. It's just we contribute differently, but I believe we contribute equally, just different. It has to be equal. Nature is balanced. Now, are we equal in strengths? No. We are not. We are not equal in that sense. Women are not equal in certain playing fields. Like a basketball player dunking or lifting weights is not ever going to be equal to a woman lifting weights. She's never going to be as strong, no matter what woman it is. If you take the strongest man and you take the strongest woman, the man is going to outperform. And we have this rhetoric that's floating around that women can do any and everything men can do. That's not true. That's like telling a fish he could fly. You can't fly. You're not meant to fly. You're meant to swim. You could be the best swimmer in the world, but you're not going to be the best flyer in the world, because no matter what type of, fake wings that you can buy, it's not going to outperform a natural occurrence of something that flies, like a bird. So there's this thing called equity versus equality. I think it is. There's this picture that floats around, and it's about aptitude tests And it's like if you test a fish on how to climb a tree, he's gonna fail. Like fish are not made to climb trees. They're made to swim. They're made to be in an aquatic environment. So when you take something out of its natural environment, it can never be equal to something that is in their natural environment. And that's just what it is. Like, it's okay that we are not equal. That's not saying that you're less than. That's just saying, in this arena, I am less than. But in this arena, I'm this is my strength. So it's like, I feel like people feel triggered when they hear, oh, I'm less than you. Well, everybody can't be great at everything. And it's okay to say, hey, I'm not the best at doing this, but I'm the best over here. So if you want to come meet me in my arena, I'm going to dust you. But if we in your arena, I succeed. You're better than me. So I think that that's the part. It's the ego that people are struggling with, and they're not ready to accept the facts because it can hurt your ego. Like, what do you mean I'm not equal? You're not equal. He not equal to you because he paying for dinner, right? If y'all was equal, you wouldn't want him to pay the bills. You wouldn't want him to be the man of the house. If it was equal, if you wanted to be equal, doesn't mean you're less than. But depending on where you stand, you have certain expectations that are not equal. So don't play both sides of the fence.
So with that said, I'm gonna do a little rapid fire here and go right to the next one.
Most men nowadays want the hybrid woman where she works also, but has some traditional values. But if you want a woman like that, you also have to be a hybrid man.
That's what I'm talking about.
You
Not
have
necessarily.
You have to be, because that woman is working, right? She's working and she's making her money, whatever the case. She can't take care of the traditional values of the women of old. Take care of the house, take care of the cleaning and all of that and the cooking. She can't do it because she works too. So the hybrid man, you take on some of that responsibility too. I come in first. I know how to cook. I've been doing it for all this time. I'll cook the meal. I'll clean because she gets in late because she works. And one hand washes the other, and we work as a team in order to get the things done in the household. But everybody has to know their position and want to play their position.
Go ahead, Clo.
Oh, I wanted you to start with this one.
No. You were very animated there. Go ahead, Clo.
I think that he said something that, wait, let me see that video. So the caption is misleading. The caption on the video says, if she works and cleans, what does it say? He should too, ? So I think that it's so misleading. Like, I like what he said about how everybody got to play their role. You play your part. And that should be determined within each individual relationship. And that's that, like, some people are more traditional together. Some people are less traditional. Some people have a hybrid mix. But you shouldn't be concerned with what everybody else is doing. You need to be concerned with what's going on in your own household. Now, if you come into an agreement with someone and expectations are not aligned, that's when problems happen. But if you in a situation, everything's working perfectly, but you on Instagram looking at some other situation and you're coveting what situation they have, and then you come up with all these rules and stuff, and it's like, for what? Just because somebody else is doing it and it's working for them, you think that it's supposed to work for you? No. Have a conversation with your partner. One of the people is a better cook. Okay, and if one person is not a better cook, maybe one person enjoys cooking more. Maybe one person enjoys cleaning more. Maybe one person enjoys dealing with the kids more. Maybe one person enjoys ordering takeout more. Or you can hire people to do stuff. Like, we're in this age where we talking about cooking and cleaning and stuff. Like, I think people should be really invested in their relationship instead of these little tiny parts. It's like, focus on the big picture. You over here worrying about who's sweeping up the floor and who's not, but y'all got deeper issues. Like, you can hire somebody to come clean your house. You can hire a food service. Like, I was talking to one of my coworkers. He has everything automated. He doesn't wash clothes. He just pays the laundromat to wash and fold. He doesn't cook. He just pays for a meal prep service. He doesn't clean. He has a cleaner come in the house every single day or once a week. Like, come on now. I feel like we spend so much time on these little petty things like, oh, a man should do this and a woman should do this. And like, yeah, there are certain things that people should do for survival. Like, everyone should know how to feed themselves or be resourceful enough to figure out food. Like, you can't have your kids eating takeout every day. So there are certain qualities that men probably want from women so that they see them as matronly and that they're going to be providers of nurturing for the household. However, in 2022, you know, a lot of things can be outsourced, but your love can't be outsourced. Your teamwork can't be outsourced. Your common goal can't be outsourced. So it's like, figure out what works for you in your relationship. Now, with that being said, there are some perks to doing things. Like, if you're a woman who likes to cook, cool. Men say they like that. So if you're going to be more marketable, you should learn how to cook. If you're going to be more marketable, you should learn how to clean. If you want to be more marketable, you should be, you know, a team player and understand what your role is. But is that the end all and be all in relationships? I don't think so. I think this is just something that's like very minute, and people put too much emphasis on this stuff instead of what they really need to be focusing on. What's your thoughts?
That's a very interesting take. I respect that. I rate that. I would say I do see in the, let's say, in the content creation space, when talking about relationships, typically it's compared to the people who are in the positions where, you know, you can have a stay-at-home wife because you can afford it. That's one thing. So if that's the ultimate goal, to get to that point, and you're both in alliance with that, and perhaps temporarily you're willing to share these roles around the household just to get things done. Like, I'm a person who's like, I'd rather just get it done as opposed to being like, oh, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. You know, I feel like if you take pride in where you live and where you stay, you're gonna naturally take care of it anyway. I feel like, especially as guys, we're much more, I would say, organized respectfully. So certain spaces that we definitely want to control, like things like the man cave, or like, especially for me, a studio space, I definitely want things in a very particular way. And just because, I'm not a female, right? That doesn't mean I don't want it looking a certain way and designed a certain way and organized in a certain way. So for that, I completely understand. Again, I feel like we've all lived in our own, either during college or post-college. I feel like, and to your point, if you're incapable of feeding yourself over the age of 30, that's another issue. Uh-huh. However, at the same time, there are a lot of fantastic male cooks. My dad is one, your dad is one. I know plenty, who can really throw down. And I think the issue that they're really discussing is that typically modern women don't want to do those traditional, let's say, housewife roles because they're working. But at the same time, it's also the modern women who are more focused on the career than the household and the family. So they're not cooking, they're not cleaning, they're not doing the child rearing. They're outsourcing it to other people. So essentially other people are raising your child. But again, that has to do with the situation you're in as a team, right? So that's the reality too. So if you're in a situation where you can transition to being, working, to being a stay-at-home mom, and that works for your family, I think that's probably best for all parties. But at the same time, in 2022, with all the boss babes, right? You can easily be a stay-at-home mom, but also have a side hustle too. Mm-hmm. So you're being fulfilled in multiple ways. One, as a mother and nurturer in terms of that, but also, pursuing your professional, dreams and visions that you have for yourself. But of course, understanding that the hierarchy is always going to be the kids in the family in the household first. Mm-hmm. And if you work from home and you have a, passive income, you're capable of living a nomadic lifestyle, you and your husband, that's a possibility. So I think it really depends on the situation that you're in currently. And I think it also depends on the situation that you're both aspiring to. And that could be where, you know, the man is the main breadwinner. Because I feel like, speaking as a guy, you just get a different sense of fulfillment when you're able to provide for others. So like recently, Clo had a bigger tank for Kareem, our red-eared slider turtle over there. And for me, like, I definitely wanted him to grow. So I got him a bigger perching ledge or a basking ledge. So I ordered that the other day for same day delivery because I was like, I definitely want to move him to the tank. It's kind of like if your child is outgrowing their bed, you definitely want to get them in a better bed immediately, type of thing. So that, and to me, that's what it felt like. So I feel like men do that naturally, and it fulfills them to a degree that is, I feel like, uncomparable to other things. But at the same time, we also have that element where we want to impact the world at a certain level. So those are essentially your two, your two ethos. It's like at one aspect you want to be an incredible provider, but at the other aspect for like your family, right? And at the other aspect you want to be a credible provider for the world and add value to the world. So having a nurturer in the household allows you the space and the platform to do that, which I feel like in every healthy, marriage partnership, whether someone like Denzel and his wife, where she sacrificed her amazing, acting career to raise people like John David Washington, right? And those are the sacrifices that you have for the family, because again, it's not about you, it's about your children. So what is the best environment for your children to flourish in? And again, just in my perspective, from my own history and watching relatives, typically it's going to be a man and a woman, where the man is doing most of the providing and the woman is doing most of the nurturing. That's just me.
Yeah, so I mean, and a lot of times, and if we're being real, a lot of families, I feel like when we speak, we're probably not speaking to the majority of people in our ideologies, which is okay. But considering other people who have to work, where both parents have to work, y'all just got to come up with your own system. Life is about systems, and the better your system is, the more the smoother your life's gonna be. But if y'all getting hung up on, he needs to do this and I need to do this, and it's unbalanced and it's not equal in that sense of the workload, that's when I feel like turbulence can happen, and that's when you have to go back to the drawing board. Like, sit down and label your strengths, label your likes, your dislikes, and then y'all need to compromise or collaborate. I like the word collaborate better, because it's like, all right, well, we both hate washing the toilet or something. Man, all right, fine, we're going to save up $25 a week and we're going to get a person to come in here and clean the toilet. Like, that's an option. It's not like back in the day where we had to do, like back in the day, like a generation or two ago, they had to do this stuff. They didn't have enough disposable income to hire a cleaning lady or a cleaning man. They didn't have that. They had to save up their money because they had 10 and 11 kids they had to feed. Now we're more conservative. We have, most people have a family of 2 or 3. That's it. So you might have that disposable income. Balance your checkbooks. See which checkbooks. Hold a sec. Balance your your ledger and see where you have extra money to make life easier for you and your spouse. That's it. It's not this person said do this, so we got to do. Like, no, do what works for you. And that's how you're happy. You can't live your life doing what other people tell you works for them when they're in a whole different situation. And to be real, a lot of these people on these platforms are capping. Oh, well, I would never do that. Oh, I would never. Bruh.
You talking as if you know, Clo. Do you know someone out there in the content creator space who's capping out there, Clo?
Listen, I ain't naming no names, but I'ma just say, do what works for you. Because people will say, I feel like people talk, they talk as they aspire to be, but that doesn't necessarily line up with reality.
Speaking into existence.
Yeah, they want to speak it into existence, but they not doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you speaking into existence, but you're not doing the work. So you're guiding other people, but you're not even doing the work yourself. Like, do your own work. Like, we could sit here and talk till our faces are blue, but we don't know you. We don't know what works for your family. We don't know the ins and outs. These are just opinions based on our personal experiences. So like I said, when you go to the grocery store, as my wise mentor, Mr. Floyd Allen, gave me this example, you'll take what you need off the shelf. You don't have to take everything. But if you like, the honey mustard, put that in your cart. If you don't want the Tabasco sauce, leave that on the shelf, We just here to share our perspective, It changes the more information we get, so. What's the next one?